And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And, I just want to start off by thanking some people because you know what? This, in the beginning, is where most people hang out, and then they kind of drop off. So if you're listening, if you hang out, if you listen to the whole episode, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to my team. I have a team of people, and it takes an army to make this thing happen for me because I do have a full-time job. I am working every single day on my full-time job, and I take a little bit of time out of every Wednesday morning to record this for you. But I don't have time other than to record it. So, I have Wolf K, who does my clips for me, who is setting up my website. Go check it out, westankersley.com. A lot of great things happening there. I have my friend Jay Finning, who does the editing for me, and we are working on kind of a payment plan on that. But right now, we just, we kind of just exchange some booze for it, and it's kind of a cool little thing, and he takes care of my editing for the audio. When you hear it, the video stuff, just, I record it from here, and this is where it goes. And then, my friend Nikki Pavlovich, who we actually do a radio show on Station Head, if you haven't checked that out. It's a motivational music hour. It's actually every Wednesday at, I got to think about it, 5 o'clock Mountain Time, 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 Eastern. So those times are so annoying. I hate time zones. But she writes all the show notes for me as well, which is awesome because it gives me time to do what I need to do, and it helps me to, get this out to you. So thank you to those. Also, thank you to Nikki for being a Patreon supporter as well. If you guys want to support the show, please go to Patreon. It helps me buy new equipment, helps me make the podcast, the show, the videos, everything better for you. So thank you very much for all of those people. Speaking of that, this podcast is about being better, right? That is my main goal, is to help other people be better at what they're doing, to have a more positive mindset, to keep pushing forward, and understand that goals are something that can be met. You just got to work for it, okay? And, it's one of those things where you sit there and you think about it, and there's this self-help mumbo jumbo. It's like what I always kind of thought about it. It's like these self-help books don't help, And a friend of mine, when I started this podcast, it was just me. And then a friend of mine, Christian Hill, who, had a lot to help me with and help me kind of push myself forward. Younger kid, a lot younger than me. He asked me, "What are you reading?" And I'm like, I don't read, whatever. I don't have time for that crap. And I started thinking about it. He said, "Well, in college, did you read?" I was like, "Well, I've got a master's degree, for those of you who don't know. In college, did you read?" I'm like, to be honest with you, I read the things that I needed to read. Like, I never read a whole book. In college, there wasn't a whole bunch of information that I needed. There was a bunch of filler crap in between the information that I actually needed. And for my life, I've always taken the lessons that I've learned and I relate them to how it helped me and how it made me a better person and how it helped me reach those goals. I've always been super driven, right? And it was difficult to understand why I needed more knowledge. And I think that that's one of the tough things that people don't understand is that when you are trying to be better, someone else has done what you're trying to do. We've been around for a long time, and someone else has tried to do what you're trying to do. So you seek out that knowledge, and then you kind of try to emulate it to make that happen for you. And I started reading when he said that. And one of the books that I read was Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. If you haven't read this book, it's a really good book. There is a bunch of different habits. Be proactive, begin with the end in mind. So have a plan, put first things first, work first, then play. Think win-win, everyone can win. Seek first and understand, to be understood. Listen before you talk. Those are the 7 habits, right? Okay. So, actually there's not 7. I only see 5 there. There's 2 more, and I will talk about those. But what I want to talk about today is being proactive. Okay. Someone posted a TikTok that I saw today, and it really made me think. A lot of people talk about stress, right? And how it's something that can destroy you. You can be stressed out about something, and I've been there. And these are just tools that I've used to help myself be less stressful or less stressed, right? So you know that there's going to be stressors in your life. There's things that you're going to do no matter what. You're going to have to do them. You're going to have to figure out how to deal with them. Okay. This could be getting up every morning and going to work, getting your work done. If you have children, making sure that the children are taken care of and they have their things taken care of. And I needed to be, as I'm talking about this, I'm thinking about it in my head, like how I can be better at these things because these things stress me out. Today's a day when I wanted to record an episode. Well, in order to make that happen, my wife has to take my daughter to school this morning. And then we have a little over 1-year-old son who has to be taken care of as well because I can't record in a non-quiet space. And then I also, like I talked about in the last episode, get a little bit self-conscious about people listening into the conversation, which is really weird because you're going to hear this and you're going to listen to it, right? Why am I not self-conscious that there is, hundreds of people listening to this, me babble on about my life and how I deal with things and stuff like that? But I'm not. Like, I have no problem sharing my story and my information with you. But when the people who are closest to you are in the next room, you kind of get self-conscious about stuff. And that's a tough thing. So those are stressors, right? So how can my wife, it's very stressful for her to have to wake up my son a little bit early because he could be sleeping longer. And then that can throw off the whole day for her because he's, whiny and upset about not getting enough sleep, things like that, right? So that can be stressful. That can be something that is stressful for her. And then I'm kind of an empathetic person. So like if she gets stressed, then I get stressed about what I'm trying to do because I know what I need to do, right? So to be proactive, what you could do, and this is what I try to do, and today was one of the first days that she wasn't completely stressed out because she knows exactly what's going to happen, right? So I have things that I can do to be helpful. So to be proactive, in order for me to have this situation where I want to be able to record and do the things that I want to do on Tuesday, because I know that I'm recording Wednesday at my regular job, the day job that I have, I try to get everything done Tuesday night instead of trying to do it on Tuesday morning. Because Tuesday morning means my normal routine is getting up at 4:30, getting on the bike, riding the bike, and then I spend an hour kind of going through social media, commenting and responding to comments on my social media, posting videos so that you can, so that people are sure and aware that this is coming out. And then, I go up, I take a shower at about 6:00, go down, do some work if I have anything left over from the day before. So, that's my normal everyday routine, but I can't do that work and help her get the kids ready so that she has an easy transition from dropping them off at school or dropping Tatum off at school and waking up Nolan and all that stuff. So I try to make sure that on Tuesday night, and this is about being proactive, right? So I'm trying to be proactive. So Tuesday night, I try to get all my work done. And then in the morning, will help her. So I get my shower done. I did have a little bit of work this morning, so I did that. It was very minimal amount. And then I came up and I said, hey, do you want me to get Nolan up? Woke him up, got him out. She goes, how about you go get the bottle while I go get him dressed? And then I went down, I got the bottle, fed him his bottle, helped her load him in the car, helped him out. So that's being proactive to make that transition easy, right? So you can look at that as a stressful situation, and it could be very stressful, but you don't have any proactive things in place, then it'll be more stressful, right? And that's how life is. Life is very stressful, but I feel like there's a way to circumvent that. You just have to know the keys to doing that. My job on a daily basis when I first started was very stressful. The reason it was stressful was because I didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't put in processes to help myself be better, right? So I'm going to piggyback onto the second habit, which is begin with the end in mind, because I think that being proactive, you have to start with the second habit. You have to begin with the end in mind. So the idea of me wanting to record this podcast, I see where it's going. I see the things I need to do, and then I have to be proactive and find that process to be able to get it done, right? And life is a bunch of processes. Life is one of those things where we have to create the process so that we're not stressed. How many of you started something and then was super stressed out, and then as you got better at it, more proficient at it, practiced, learned the corners that you needed to cut, the things that you didn't need to do, the process that you need in order to make your life easier. And as it gets easier, the stress starts to disappear, right? Sometimes there's stresses that never go away. But the best thing to do is to figure out what the process is in order to do that. And I look at my life that way. I think, okay, so this is stressful. This is taking me this amount of time. What can I do? I know the end result, so begin with the end in mind. So what's the end result? And then start thinking about the quickest way and most efficient way to get there. And it has helped me so much more to look at things that way. Because once you are stressed out, what happens? The doubt creeps in. You stop wanting to do it. You start thinking about all the things that could go wrong, and you can't put your eye on the prize and know that there's going to be things that will get taken care of and things will do. So it's very important to think about those things. And I think that we get lost in that. We get lost in the fact that there's all this stuff in between that we don't know how to tackle and we don't know how to handle. Well, the first step is the first step, right? So if you're having problems trying to figure that out, how to take care of business, how to make things happen, think about the end result. What are you trying to do? And that's the same thing that I do with this, right? Like there's a lot of things in between me getting from recording this episode to being able to record other people's episodes, to being able to produce podcasts, to being able to have people in my studio doing their podcast, to writing a book, these are all goals that I have, that the consistency of me recording every single day, the consistency of me, not every single day, every week, putting out the episodes every week, because I told myself I'm going to put one out every Monday, the consistency of that, doing it, posting on social media. It hasn't reaped the rewards yet that I want it to, but the process in between of figuring it out and building something up and making it so that the more you do, sooner or later something's going to pop. But I know what the end result is. I know what I want. I can't reach that goal without doing those processes. And do you have to shift every once in a while? Of course you do. You think about the shifts that you have to make. A few episodes back, and if you haven't joined me, you should go check out that episode. We talked about a hamster wheel, right? So you're on a hamster wheel running in circles over and over again. And, there's no result. It's like you're running nowhere. You never stop, right? But you just keep running in a circle. Sometimes you have to take the shift. Sometimes you have to step out of that wheel and take a lateral step to move forward. And that's what it is. It doesn't mean that just because it's not popping right now that it won't pop ever. But what is working to get the results that you want? I made a shift. I was putting the podcast on audio only, right? And I wasn't quite getting the results that I wanted to. So I'm looking at my download numbers and they're really low. So if you're listening to this podcast, thank you. Share it. Help me get it out there, because the audio downloads are down, but I started posting more on YouTube. Now I can see my subscribers, because I can't see what my subscribers are on the podcast, and I can tell how many people are there, and then I can tell how many people are watching, and I can analyze that a little bit better, and I can see what works and what doesn't work. I made a shift this year. I did a lot of interviews. I got over 200 episodes, and I think probably 150 of those were interviews. I had some great people on. I had some really just, from my friends like Jay, Nikki, AJ, to like Chris Henderson from Three Doors Down, who plays guitar for Three Doors Down, and Jake Rose, who is the lead singer of New Medicine, Rob Brantley of the San Francisco Giants. So like I've had a wide array of people that show that success is generated by you. You create that, you build that. But I'm very interested in what it takes to make that happen. But I never did a very good job of explaining who I was. So I feel like this year is my chance. And I say this year, which is this season, is me telling you who I am, how I got where I was, what did I do, the steps that I took. And when Christian told me, hey, you need to read some books, I'm sitting there going, why would I do that? Well, the books that I learned in college that got me that piece of paper that said that I could teach PE or said that I could teach a technology class because I was a teacher, those books taught me nothing compared to what I've learned from the books that I've read. And I say read, but I listen to them. You know that. I listen to them on Audible typically because I don't have a lot of time. But there's a shift right there, right? So I don't have time to read a book. But you know what I do have time? I have time to pop that thing on in my pickup when I'm driving around between appointments and listening to and gleaning the information that's helpful. And these things like being proactive and beginning with the end of the mind are all things that I've done but never been, never saw it. I never sought it out. I never really thought about it the way that I did until I really figured out how to relate it to my life. And you figure it out, you relate it to your life, and then you learn how to teach someone. And the best way to get better at something is teach someone how to do it because you've done it. Now you're explaining it again over and over. It's a process. Okay. It's a process. And I've always spent my life being someone who was thinking about all the bad things that could happen instead of thinking about the good outcomes. Right. And that's a shift that you have to make. You have to learn that in order to accomplish things, it's better for you to be positive about what's going to happen instead of going, well, this and this and this could go wrong. Well, what could go right? And if you start thinking about what can go right, it kind of makes this shift in your brain. And that's where I've been for the last 4 years. There's a shift. And you start to realize that you don't need the negativity in your life, that you are gleaning from it. I had a super big shift in my job. And this is the thing. This is happening daily in my life. And I've started to notice it. I've had a shift where I've decided that I'm going to stop worrying. And I've said this in my head 1,000 times. I'm going to stop worrying about what everyone else is doing. And I'm just going to do my job to the best of my ability. And this is what is expected of me. And my expectations are sell, close, sell, close. No sell, no money, no close. Super simple. Keep it simple, stupid. Think about it that way. And I've only thought about one thing in the last 2 months, and that's getting the sale and not what the profit is, not what everyone else is doing, not who's closing more than me, not who's whatever, right? And my closing ratio has gone way up. My dollar amount goes up because I sell more instead of selling less. And things change. It's all about making that shift and figuring out what it takes and not worrying about what other people do. And you have to be proactive in order to make that happen. And being proactive, thinking about the past, doesn't really help you because you cannot move forward if you're always stuck in the past. Your past does not define you. What you do in the future defines you. So if you haven't checked out this book, I really suggest that you do. It's really good. Listen to it, whatever. But there's these habits, and then start to think about the habits. How do you relate those to your life? What do you do? How are you proactive in what you're doing? Are you proactive? Maybe you're not. Maybe that's a tool that you can use to make yourself better. But if you continue to just let things happen and blame other people for your issues, it's never going to happen. You have to be willing to take responsibility for your actions. Understand that whatever happened to you before doesn't define who you are today. And start to think about what you want. You can't get where you want to go without figuring out where it is you want to be. So you have to be willing to plan it out a little bit. And it doesn't mean that the plan doesn't change, right? You make a plan to get where you want to go. And then if you have to make a shift, you have to make a shift. I make those shifts every single day. So be proactive, begin with the end in mind. And I feel like you're going to have a really good start to being more successful in what you're trying to do. Check it out. Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. Great book. And we'll talk about the other ones a little bit more, but this is how I process things. This is how I do things in my mind, in my thoughts, and the things that I do. I find something that I enjoy. I start relating it to where I've been and breaking it down and how I do that and how I relate that to my life. Really good book. And that's a start, right? Like reading a book is something that may expand your knowledge a little bit. There's a lot of people doing this 75-day hard, and that was probably one of the things. That's one of the things that you have to do. You have to be like reading for 15 minutes every day. Try it out. See how it works for you. I want you to be successful. I want to teach you. I want to help you. I want you to be better if that's what your goal is. If you're listening to this, you are a success warrior. Until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.